Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to show you two cards using two different subscription items from Spellbinders, and these are both from the June subscriptions. First is the stamp set that you see on the left. That is the Paisley Bouquet stamp set. And now the dies that I'm holding here are the Stylized Border Trio. Now there are three different border styles. So on my first card, I'm going to be using the thick one that I die cut out in white. And on my second card, I will be using all three of the borders. So you can see that there are the main design border and then there are several edge borders. And it kind of lines up with the edge of the stylized borders. So I will show you how to use all of those in my second card. But on my first card, I'm using the big thick one, and I die cut out the main part in white already on the left. Now, to make the background piece that I'm going to use, I use the edge parts. So I first die cut out this piece in white. Then I'm going to lay it down, and what I did was I used the edge piece right there and die cut it. Then I put my white piece down again, saw how much room I needed, flipped the piece around and die cut out that side. Then my background piece was ready. And with my background, I used the gold mirrored cardstock, and I'm going to use the rule of thirds. So I put it down on the bottom half of the card. My gold mirrored cardstock overlapped just a little bit on the side, so I just snipped it off with my paper trimmer. And the other side, I used my scissors. I'm going to make several videos using this stamp set, so if you're interested, check out other videos on my channel. They will be posted throughout the month of June. So if you'd like to be notified when those are available, you can click the notification bell and it will notify you when I post videos. My next step is to glue on my white die cut piece. I'm going to use my reverse tweezers and Barely Art liquid glue to adhere it onto my gold mirrored cardstock. And if there are any edges that I think might need a little bit of glue, we'll just go in and add just a little extra to make sure that nothing lifts up. Then I will put it down, and if you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I love the reverse tweezers because it takes your hands out of the way and it gets the piece onto your card without having your hands in the way. And with the gold mirrored cardstock, it is pretty slippery, so the die cut piece might slip around a little bit, but I just have to be very careful. Now I'm using the tool-in-one, and there's a little shovel is what I call it, and this little shovel attachment is pretty easy for slipping glue on and putting glue underneath paper so it doesn't have large globs of glue. Next, I'm going to take a scrap of black cardstock that I have from my scrap bins, and I'm going to heat emboss my sentiment right onto this piece. I'm going to use the sentiment Beyond Grateful. I think that this is a very nice way to say thank you without saying thank you. I don't know about you, but if you're a crafter, you probably have a lot of thank you sentiments already, and this is just another way. So when I heat emboss, I have a few tools that I use all the time. And what you just saw there is an anti-static tool, and this helps make the heat embossing powder stick exactly where I want it to, which is exactly on the inked area, not the surrounding area. I also use Versamark embossing ink, and I will use my Misty most of the time because it's gives me the option to stamp twice like this. And for very delicate stamps or sentiments, I will choose to stamp twice more than not, because I want my sentiment to really stay on and be visible. So I'm going to use my reverse tweezers again just to dip in my piece into some gold gold embossing powder. Then with my heat tool, I will transform it into a very beautiful shiny sentiment. And if the paper bends at all, you can also put the heat tool on the back, but you don't have to. Then I will use my mini trimmer from Tim Holtz to trim my sentiment to be just the right size. And when I'm working with small sentiments, I like to use my mini trimmer because it has that plastic guard and I'm able to see what I'm cutting and also hold it securely as I'm cutting. And those reverse tweezers again are very helpful. I've used them I think 3 times now to glue my white piece down, to heat emboss without burning my fingers, and to trim my sentiment. So definitely it's definitely in my top 5 tools. With some liquid glue, I will stick my sentiment right on to my die cut piece. And to finish off my card, I'm going to use just a little bit of glossy accents to add a little bit of embellishment. And when I use glossy accents, I always take a little scrap paper and give it a test first, just to make sure that the air bubbles are not present in the nozzle. I'm going to put 3 little dots on each section here, so I will have a total of 12 dots. And I will set that off to the side so it can dry completely. And there is my finished card. Now for card number 2, I'm going to be using a lot of my border dies here, and I will show you how I made each one. So for this piece, I used this die cut. And for these 2 die cut pieces, I used this one. And for this one, I used that one. Hopefully that makes sense. I wish they had maybe numbers or something on them so I can say this one I used number 1, but hopefully get the picture. All right. Now I already put down my black piece of paper onto my card base, so it is ready to go. And all I have left to do is layer on my pieces. But I also need to put a sentiment on, and I wanted the sentiment to be quite subtle. So I'm going to switch up my sentiments to use sending happy thoughts your way. And I thought that this would be somewhat of an elegant card, maybe a sympathy card, if you will, or just something that's a little fancier without being too cutesy. So that's why I chose black and gold. And when I heat emboss this, I'm actually going to use clear embossing powder. So it's not going to have a sentiment that is very flashy at all. It's just very subdued and almost hidden. But when the light catches it, you can still read the sentiment with ease. I always use a little spoon, and that spoon is from IKEA, and I use my green storage, I think they're sandwich containers actually, and I bought those at Dollar Tree just for $1, and they seem to work really well. If I remember, I will try to link the Dollar Tree green bins in the description as well. Now you can see a little bit of my powder has remained there, but I just took my shirt and just kind of wiped off any excess powder. So not a big deal at all, but it came off. Now I'm going to put on my die cut pieces, and they're going to go horizontally onto my card. So to add them on, I'm going to use my Barely Art glue, and just try to hit all of the major areas where glue would stick. And yes, you could use the pouncing method for this, but I'm choosing for this piece to just put it right on to the die cut piece. And with my reverse tweezers, I will line up the die cut piece to be going straight across horizontally onto my card base. Then I will take an acrylic block and some other things here just to make sure that it is nice and firmly on the card. The gold mirrored cardstock is wonderful, but it does get a little slippery. I will do the same process with the next piece and add the glue, and this has a little bit more surface area, so it's a little bit easier to glue. I'm going to put this gold piece down first, and then I'm going to put the black piece right on top of it. So when the black piece is on top, the gold will poke out behind the black. It's nice to use these border dies because you can change up the look from using different paper to make the borders look totally different. You could use the gold mirrored cardstock, you could use a solid color like I am here, you could use pattern paper, you could use glitter paper, you could use vellum. There's so many different options, and these borders are a really easy way to add a little bit of flair to a card without pulling out a heat embosser and really just anything too involved, because it's just a die cut piece, but it does add a lot of flair. And I'm just checking on my first card there. Looks like those dots are still a little bit wet, so I will leave them be. So as I was saying, these borders are a quick way to add a little bit of flair. So if you're interested in buying these, I will have a link in the description to the subscription items, and these are under the name of Small Die of the Month for June. But if you're on the website and you see other things that catch your eye from the subscriptions, I do always recommend the total package because it is really the best value. You get several dies, a card kit of the month. It's just amazing. So go ahead and check it out and see what you think. Now, of these two cards, I'd like to know which one you like best, so please let me know in the description, black or maroon. To finish this card off, I didn't want to add any bling per se to the card because I think the gold mirrored cardstock kind of speaks for itself. So I went in with my glossy accents into some of the bigger open areas and just added a little bit of shine to these spots. It was a very thin coat, so it wouldn't be anything too dimensional, just a little bit of shine, almost to accent the clear embossing sentiment. And there's my finished card. So thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. And if you'd like more videos from me, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Bye!